those people that get their paychecks, and if they have any extra money, they're immediately throwing it at something they want, maybe don't need. What are some just small tips that you can give somebody that wants to manage their money better?
Yes, I think it's a common thing that happens to most of us, and we don't like to admit it, and we kind of keep it to ourselves. But in reality, we understand and we know that we're, probably not doing good financial decisions if we're having bad credit and late payments and things like this, right? So it really comes down to your personal finances and kind of the little things that you could do on a daily basis. One thing that's worked for me has been completely automating it. So you're still going to be paycheck to paycheck. You're still going to be, feeling broke. But at the very least, you could automate every time you get paid that it's going to draw a payment to your 401k, to your Roth IRA, to your traditional IRA, to maybe even some stock accounts where you can start building assets that are going to work for you, not against you, and go broke doing that. The faster you implement that, and if you could do that today, I encourage you to do it. It's going to hurt at first. You're still going to be, paycheck to paycheck, but at the very least, 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, it's going to be a lot more money in that account than you ever expected. Why? Because it's actually compounding. And if there's anything I've learned, it's that, it's building wealth doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have 10, 20, 30, 40K in your checking account at all times. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Um, it actually means the contrary, that you keep less money in your checking account, but then now you actually have automated investments where you're moving your money immediately. The moment you get paid, immediately it gets drawn into also even your emergency fund. And that's something I highly, highly encourage. If you're going through your credit repair process and you're actually trying to build your financial future, you should definitely have at the very minimum $10,000 in your emergency fund for any given emergency. If you see that there's going to be a payment that's coming up for one of your credit cards, an auto loan, and you see you're cutting short, at least you could withdraw money from that emergency fund. But it really takes, setting it up today so that you could set $200, $300, and set that apart every single month to go towards that account. The faster
Absolutely.
you automate it, the better.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly what I was just about to dive into is automation, and automation on good beneficial things, and then more awareness and control on negative things. And what I mean by that, and what I want to talk about is what my strategy was when I started to become more aware of how I was spending my money. So my husband and I were different people. I am a pen and paper person. I write everything down. That just works for me. If I have a Google Calendar, I'm way less likely to keep up on it and pay attention to it. I need it in front of my face. And so with my work, I have two calendars, one a calendar that I write down and I look at it. And I bring all of that up because I'm the same way with my finances. So something that I started to do was at the end of every night, I had a little book and I would take and write down the debit card purchases that I had made through the day. And that included vending machine purchases, $1.28. I was writing it down. Over time, what that did for me is it created a psychological trigger point when I was ready to swipe that debit card of how much I was spending. And I think that all too often happens to people, especially around my age. It's so easy and convenient to swipe a plastic card, and most people don't have like any type of notification that gets sent to their phone, anything like that. They don't look at their bank account. Unless they get paid. And so there's no awareness there. So you're just swiping your card, right? You go to Starbucks in the morning, you buy a sandwich and a drink, and then you tip them. And then that's 15 to 18 bucks. And then it's lunchtime. And so you go out and you grab food for lunch, and then maybe you see something on Amazon. Well, that all compounds. And I think that that behavior is what contributes to people who are actually making enough money to pay off their bills, to pay off their collections, but don't realize it because you're just swiping your card. And that's not to shame anybody that does that. It's a system that's built for you to do that. It's a convenient system. But you talked about automating things. And if I could speak to anything as far as managing the money that comes in, is yes, automate your payments, automate your investments, but also pay attention to how you're using your money in the day to day. On top of me writing down everything that I was spending in the day, I'm also a really kinesthetic physical person too. And so I started to, just when I first started to save money, just saving it envelopes. And this is before I knew anything about investing money. But that worked for me because I was pulling that cash out of my account. I couldn't use it anymore. And then I was putting it in an envelope in my closet that I never paid attention to. So these are just basic level things if you're not at the point that you can start investing. But I also want to speak to that as well, that I had the misconception that if I wanted to start investing and building towards my future, I needed to be able to allocate $500 a month to a Roth IRA. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Is there a minimum entry level for investing your money?
No, typically not. You could start with as little as $20 a month, and if that's all you could afford at the moment, then that's fine. But I want to encourage you to go ahead, sign up for the Roth IRA or traditional IRA. Look up on ChatGPT what's more convenient for you at this moment right now with your current situation. Just just do it. Just do it. Whether it's $10 a week, I typically set it up to weekly. I think it's just more effective for me, but you could do it on a monthly basis so that every time you get paid, it automatically just deducts that money, and you almost don't notice it, when I, and and you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is something I want to talk about too is A, and I've talked about it before. At Leverage Services, we want to take you to a point where you, yes, have a low credit score and you have no ability to obtain a loan, or you're just in a bad spot where you're inundated with debt payments. And we want to get you to the point of not just being debt free, but investing your money and getting you to your wildest dreams, whether that's for you to quit your day job, build a business, whatever it is. We want to encourage you and help you with that. And with that comes having a hard conversation with yourself. You talked about restaurants. My thing was coffee. Oh my gosh, I would spend, like I said, $10 to $15 a day, 5 days a week on coffee. And so if you add that up all throughout the month, I mean, I could have been more debt free way earlier on. And it's just a simple, quick decision. But if you have a mindful process on how you spend your money, for me, coffee, important, right? I could automate that for myself by making cold brew at home and just having my coffee prepared the night before. That actually cuts down on time as well. So these are little decisions that if you're not aware of them, you don't know how much money that is actually costing you. So I encourage people to do that too. Before anything, look at your bank account and start adding up how much money do you spend on Amazon? How much money do you spend eating out? What small decisions can you make so that you're not spending that amount of money? Oftentimes, I'll go to the grocery store, and I think if people are similar minded to me, at least my mindset was, man, if I go to the grocery store, I'm going to spend $150 this week on food to buy everything that I need, and then I've got to make it, right? But the reality is I was spending that, if not more, and eating unhealthier food as well by eating out. So it's just small little decisions like that that you can gain more control over your finances. Alex, let's talk a little bit about folks who have no availability at all in their budget right now. They're so inundated with debt payments and just paying their normal bills that at the end of the month they have nothing. What would you say to those people? And how can we help them create more flexibility in their monthly budget?
Yeah, guys. So the biggest thing is taking care of any liabilities that you have currently, and for some of you, it may be negotiating certain credit cards so that you can have lesser payments and hopefully just cancel out any debt or any liabilities. And another thing is going to be, looking for ways where you can increase your income. A lot of times, there's room there. If you're able to increase, your income, apply for, that next promotion, or that can help definitely. And just if you're able to, start working with any money that's coming in more intelligently and prioritizing which accounts you're going to pay off first, that's definitely something we can help you out with as well. And typically, I would say if you find yourself really struggling, then there's probably a problem with your spending habit or with your income. And typically, I would say it's both, right? So, if you can improve those two things, it's a very simple formula for success.
Yeah. I would say that working with leverage services is a mindset shift for sure. Money is really integrated with everything that we do. Money is how we get food, it is how we create freedom for ourselves. It's highly integrated. And so when you make the decision to work with leverage services, to work with us so we can help you manage your credit and then manage your spending habits moving forward, you're making a decision for yourself to get out of where you're currently at. And we're here to help you grow on that and help broaden your horizons and what you can do with your money. Let's talk a little bit about people who are in positions where they cannot increase their income, cannot increase their time. You know, they're so stretched thin. First of all, I want to go over that there are a lot of creative ways that we can help you. Everybody's situation is different, and that's why we sit down with you and counsel you and take a look at your situation. But there is a lot of flexibility. Can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned negotiating with credit card companies. What does that look like? How can somebody create more flexibility that way?
Yeah, so if you're owing, let's say, $2,000 to a credit card, and it's been a while now, and you're just kind of fed up with doing the minimum payment, and you're ready to cancel out that debt, then one of the options that you could do is call the credit card company and negotiate the amount that you're going to pay off that account. Now, that would mean that the account would close out completely, but you could potentially, if you have the funds available at the very moment, then you could potentially negotiate it to about 50 to 60% of the total debt, meaning that $2,000 credit card could turn into $1,000. Now you're going to have a zero balance on that account, and you're going to have just one less liability you have to worry about. That's something I recommend, but if you're not able to do the full payment of the 50% upfront, typically they're going to try to make you pay 80 to 100% of the debt on a monthly payment. So typically, I almost really recommend that strategy for when you have a lump sum of money coming in and you're going to be able to use it to settle some of your accounts down, and just know that some of these accounts are going to get closed out, but at least on good terms, right? They're going to be on good terms because you are paying them, and you just don't want to maintain that account open because at this point you're already in over your head, and it's a much healthier alternative than maybe claiming bankruptcy or doing some of these other options that could hurt your credit in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Another program that I took advantage of, I had a credit card that has been open since I was 18. It's my longest credit line, and so it's something that I want to protect. But I had a super high balance on it. And I just called the credit card company and I asked them what they could do for me. They had a program that they called a financial hardship program where they dropped my interest rate nearly in half, but they also locked my card, which was beneficial for me because at the time I had terrible spending habits. And so that card was locked. I couldn't use it anymore, but the interest rate was lower too. So while they didn't reduce my balance, when I was paying my monthly payment, it was actually contributing more to the principal balance. And so I was paying it off sooner. Which leads me to my next question. I've fallen victim to this. Let's talk about paying just minimum monthly payments. You know, you have a credit card that has a $2,000 balance, you're paying $60 a month. How can that hurt somebody? What does that look like if you just pay your minimum monthly payment?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with paying your minimum. As long as you keep the account paid on time, that's good for the short term, and as far as keeping good credit history. Now, definitely you want to devise a plan to be able to pay off that liability. But obviously, if you do the math on a credit card, you're going to end up, if you're just paying the minimum, you could end up paying up to two, three, four times of what you owe, right? Just because of interest alone, and it does compound against you. It's one of those difficult situations where more people are in that situation than they'd like to admit. This country is one of the most highly leveraged countries in the world. We give out credit to anybody, pretty much. And just because you have just because you're capable of getting approved for a credit doesn't mean that you should. A lot of times it really doesn't make sense, right? Because you're going to end up paying so much interest, you're going to get yourself into a deeper hole that it doesn't make sense. But we could also help you devise a plan to where you can, kind of move money around and possibly get approved for new accounts depending on your situation where you could move money from one account to another. For example, consolidation loans, right? So consolidation loans is a great way to kind of consolidate some of those credit card debt and move it into a simple interest loan. And the difference between the interest, it does make a big difference on what you're going to be paying because on a credit card, it's actually compounding against you daily over the span of a whole year. So you're going to end up paying a ridiculously amount more than what you would pay on a loan. If you're paying a loan off, if you're able to do more than just the minimum payment, you're actually going to pay down that principal some more, and you're going to pay a little bit less interest every single month following that. So it's a simple interest when you're doing a consolidation loan, and the way it gets factored into your credit is very different. When you have a credit card debt, we're talking about revolving debt. That's what credit cards are considered revolving. And yeah, between those limits, if you're maxed out, your score is gonna drop. That's about 30% of your credit score. And if you have the same amount of debt on a loan, it's actually not going to hurt you at all, credit score wise. And you're going to have more time to, typically pay off that account, and it's not going to look as bad on your credit history having a personal loan rather than, five maxed out credit cards.
Yeah, yeah. You said something earlier that I wanted to talk about a little bit, which is just because you can obtain credit doesn't mean you should. Are there particular types of credit cards or loans that you should avoid?
So I'm going to be honest. I did the mistake before myself, buying a brand new car from the dealership. And unless you're in the financial situation to do it, I would recommend not to do it. Why? Because I mean, look it up, guys. I mean, literally, you're going to lose 30-40% of the value of the car the moment you drive it off. You don't need that shiny car. For me, now that I've kind of gone through the lessons in life, for me, the most shiny, beautiful, luxurious car is a paid off car. So if you could find a used car that's been, maybe in the market for, maybe it's like a one used car, get a good used car. Maybe you finance it, but make sure that you get a good deal on a, maybe 3 to 4 years old car. And that's going to last you much, it's still going to last you long, but you're not going to have such a high payment. And hopefully you could pay it off within a year or 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. We've talked about this before too. I made the same mistake and I called Alex to tell him I had gotten a Tesla. And I don't even want to know what his look was on the other side of that phone, but I'm in the same situation. And I saw that all the time in the car industry. People want they want attainable items that show status, but real status comes from having more financial availability. And my really wealthy customers that would come in would be the ones buying the 2015 Toyota Camry for cash because it was a reliable car. And then they have no obligation on a loan. They're not paying additional money just to have that car. And I'm talking about interest rate right now. When you purchase a car, especially a used car, the typical profit margin for a dealership is about 4 to 6 grand. So if you were to buy that car on a Tuesday, turn around and go to trade it in on a Wednesday, you can expect right off the rip that you're going to be offered about $6,000 less than what you spent the day before. Not accounting for gap insurance, not accounting for warranties, stuff like that. So, yeah, that's a great example of no, do not go out and finance the new Mercedes AMG that's super nice and bougie. The depreciation on it will absolutely hurt you. The situation I'm in with my Tesla right now, I am completely stuck in it unless I come up with a big down payment. And I helped a lot of people in the car industry like that too, where they have so much deficiency in their loan from what they owe on it to what the car is worth that they literally can't move unless they come up with a large down payment. And that's called being car poor. Car loans are a huge, huge, huge anchor that I see in people's credit profiles as well. And those are typically the first things to go. You know, your car breaks down, you can't use it anymore. A lot of people have this misconception that if they just stop paying on it, the bank will come take it back and they could just go get a new one. No, no, that is not the case. And I can guarantee you, when you go to buy a new car, if you make that decision to voluntarily or involuntarily get that car repossessed, that your interest rate will be egregious on a $15,000 to $20,000 loan. You'll put yourself in a position that will affect you for years to come and will compound. And that's something I saw all of the time too. For me, as far as bad credit cards versus good credit cards, moving forward, if I were to obtain a new credit card or to relook at my debt, I'd want to look at a credit card that works for me, that I get a benefit for spending that money with a credit card company. What I mean by that is there's a lot of department store credit cards like Ulta, when I go in, offers me a credit card every time I go in. Victoria's Secret, credit cards that don't do anything for you. You can't spend money elsewhere. You can only spend money in that department store. They don't do anything for you. The interest rate is like 30%. And really the only benefit to you on getting those credit cards is that you don't have to spend all of that money up front. But when you're getting a consumable good, I'm a woman, so I'm thinking Victoria's Secret, Ulta, but that could be Dick's Sporting Goods, that could be Les Schwab Tires. These are other places that I see this happen at. When you're getting a consumable good, I don't know if you'd agree with me, but those are purchases that you certainly would not want to put on credit in the first place, but definitely not be paying 30% on. So I would avoid that. Just because you go to Ulta and you're at the makeup counter, they take your social security card and they say, hey, great news, you're approved. You can put this all in this credit card and save 15% off. That's not a good deal. Not at all. So personally, I would avoid any type of department store credit cards, anything like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree there. I think that most credit card agencies or companies, they know ahead of time psychologically what's going to get you to spend more money, right? So that's the whole reason why they even offer these credit cards at, you know, Forever 21 and all these stores because they know you're going to start spending more than what you can actually afford. And a lot of times it's easier to just budget if you're using a debit card because that's hard cash, right, in your checking account. And if you don't have it, it's not going to go through. And it's going to be a little embarrassing. But you know what? I'd rather be a little bit embarrassed and kind of you kind of have a reality check on how much funds you actually have available than trying to continue this cycle of using credit cards after credit cards and then moving credit card balances around and trying to juggle all these credit cards. Believe me guys, it's not like it's a trap that you definitely want to stay away from. If you can possibly just stop spending on the credit cards overall, start using your debit card, and stop justifying that, oh, I'm going to get a little bit of credit card points over here for travel, or because in the end of the day, travel points are a very small percentage. You know, I even used to be an avid, credit card point enthusiast, which I still am. I love credit card points and I love maxing them out, and I've been able to cash out a ton of points to be able to travel around the world several times. But that only comes with like knowing strategies where you can hit your spending limits without having to actually put real spending on those credit cards. So typically, it's not a good idea. They're just psychologically trying to get you tied into, these credit card balances where you're going to be paying interest every month, and that's really where they make the bulk of their money. So try to stay away from using credit cards if you find yourself in that situation right now. And I think you're going to be better off once you start kind of methodically paying off one credit card at a time, and eventually you're going to be credit card free. And once you have credit cards, you just start managing them in a way that you're not going to tempt yourself to use them. You could actually just cut them up and throw them away if you wanted to, and they just stay on your credit. And that way, you could have it on your credit with all the benefit, right? You have the zero balance. It looks nice. You have good, strong credit, but then you don't tempt yourself to use it because you just cut it up and throw it away.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And to kind of wrap up here, something that you were saying was credit card points, which I think are cool. There are really strategic ways that people use those credit cards. But if you spend $10,000 on your Capital One credit card, and you get a bunch of points for it and you get maybe a couple free plane tickets out of it. Cool, that's awesome. But if you still maintain that debt and look at the amount of interest that you are paying on that debt as opposed to just buying a plane ticket, I can almost guarantee you'd make it out better if you just bought the plane ticket. So just something to consider too, if you're going to start using a credit card, just start is thinking intelligently about what kind of credit cards you want to obtain. You still want to be at the point that you're not overspending to the point that you can't pay off that monthly balance. Alex, I think that wraps up questions today. Did you have anything else?
No, that's all.
Great. Well, if you're considering a credit repair company, we are well-rounded. We will counsel you. We will not just help you fix your credit, but we will help you obtain the goals that are beyond your wildest dreams. If you're curious about it, hop on leverageservices.com. Once again, my name is Eden. This is Alex. We'd love to help you out.